putting programs to work.
If you want to enter programs into the computer, either because you write them yourself or because you read them from a magazine or book, then there's a few things that would be useful for you to know. As you know, you're going to put in your program lines starting with a line number. That's a number ahead of the line which says, don't do this now, save it, and we'll do it later. For example, we could say, a given statement here, and we could type it in, and when we press return, that would be the end of it. Now, what happens if you make a mistake? Well, the easiest thing, if you haven't pressed return, if a line isn't in yet, then you can use the delete key and go back, and you won't have to worry about the mistake. It will never have been entered into the computer. Okay, now we can finish this line, and when it's finished, then we press return. Now the line's in the computer, and if we have a mistake on it now, there are several things we can do. First of all, if you see anything wrong with a line that you've typed in, all you have to do is to type the line in again, correct it. If I put it in again, the moment I press return, the old line is removed and the new line that I've typed in will replace it. It recognizes that that's the line to be replaced because it carries the same number. The old line 100 is gone, the new one is there. In a moment we'll talk about what happens if you miss out a line, but here's something that's very useful. Since you often forget to put a couple of things at the beginning of your program, it's usually fairly good to start with a moderately high line number, like 100. And since you may omit things that you need to do within your program, you should skip the numbers along, perhaps 10 at a time, starting at 100, going through 110, and so on. Let's type some more material in here. We'll type. Okay. Now, somewhere along this line we say, okay, we've typed in a program line, we've made a mistake, there's something the matter with it. Another thing we can do rather than typing over is we can go back and we can type in a correction right on the screen. And even though we haven't typed in the whole line, pressing return enters the whole line all over again. So that when we make a mistake, we can correct it right on the screen without having to type the entire line. This is called screen editing. It's a very useful feature of the thing. So we'll enter some more lines, and I will say, print. Okay, we've entered several lines into our program. At any time, we can look at what we have entered by saying list, L-I-S-T, and we'll see a list of the lines we've put in. Remember, before you start, you should say new to clear the computer of any old lines that are in there. Now, if I decide I want to insert a line that I've missed in between, say, a couple of lines that are already on there, all I have to do is to pick a line number that's in between. To put a line between 110 and 115, for example, 110 and 120, I'll enter a line 115. And the new line will take its place and the old lines will move over to make room. One last thing, if for some reason you have a line of coding in there which is wrong, or you simply want to take out entirely, you can remove any line by typing in its line number and typing nothing behind it, just return. So if we don't want line 120, we type in 120 and then press return, and that line is gone. Once again, at any time, we can list. Now, if this is our final program, there are several things that we can do. If the program is ready now, this is not a very big one, we can say run, and the program will run. That's a pretty short program and doesn't do anything terribly exciting. If we'd like to take away a copy of our program for study, and we have a printer, we can transfer a listing of that program to the printer. How to do it is in the book and in the printer guide. It's a rather curious series of statements where we have to first of all make a connection to the printer, and then we say, let's divert all of the things that would normally go to the screen, we'll divert them over to the printer instead. And now we're ready, we'll say list, and instead of listing to the screen, the computer will list to the printer. Here we go. And there's our program on the printer. We can tear it off, take it away, study it, and decide what we want to do next. If you ever do this, you should terminate this procedure with a print number 4 that disconnects the printer. Now, as well as doing that, once we have this program ready, we'll probably want to keep it so that the next time around we don't have to type it in again. Here's how we do it. On cassette tape, we say the word save. By itself, that would be enough. But we can do more. We can give it a name. I'll call this program Hi There, so we'll say save, in quotation marks, Hi There, and the moment that I press return, I get the instruction press record and play on the tape. The cassette tape is already inside the machine, so I'll press record and play, and the screen blanks, which is what always happens when we're reading or writing tape. In a few moments, this is a fairly short program, so in 15 seconds or so, the tape will stop and the screen will return to us, and then we'll talk about doing exactly the same thing when we save this thing onto disk. Okay, the program is saved. I'll simply stop the cassette tape here, and now we'll take a disk, place it in the disk file, and we'll do exactly the same thing, making a copy of this program to disk. We type in almost the same command. This time we must have a name. Everything going onto disk must have a name because we can save so many things on disk. And so we say save Hi There, but we also have to say one more thing, comma 8. 8 is the device number of the disk. When we want to save to the disk, we say save program name, comma 8, and out it goes. I'll press return. The disk will start to spin. The light will come on. The program is being written, and now the process is complete. It was a lot faster than on cassette tape, but of course that's one of the things that you get when you buy a floppy disk. Next time we'll talk about how programs can store data on disk or tape for you. This is storing data. We've seen how to store programs. Now we'll take a look at the next step.